on television, he said he had everything under control. You know, he said that, yeah, there's some cases in New York, but we've got this under control. We heard that the borders were being closed, but UK and Ireland were going to stay open. He wasn't blocking Africa, and of course Morocco's in Africa, so we didn't think anything about that. The only bugaboo that we had was our tickets were supposed to take us back through Paris. So our tour company just said, okay, don't worry, we'll reroute your tickets. So they rebooked the tickets, and we were going to fly then direct from Marrakesh directly to JFK. That seemed like a good solution. But then the King of Morocco must have thought something was up, because then he announced that he was going to ground Air Morocco. We didn't want to make trouble, but we weren't going to remain passive either. Told them that we're, 14 people, we're all American, we're all 65 plus. So some people have underlying conditions, and we're starting to have a hard time of it. We have people running out of medication. We have one guy who is his hearing. We cannot get replacement hearing aid batteries for him. He's walking around deaf. We need their help to get home. So he said, well, have you looked at any of the incoming flights and try to get seats going out? And I kind of looked at him like, come on, dude. What we really wanted out of that was we wanted someone to ask the question in the daily White House briefing room about the stranded people.
Mr. President, there are Americans who were traveling abroad who were essentially stuck, unable to come home. We spoke to a group of 10 women who, Americans. 10,
Where?
Well, we spoke to 10 American women who were in Morocco, for instance. All the flights have been canceled. Their hotel is shutting down. They literally have no place to stay and no way to get home. They are asking they're asking the administration, the U.S. government for help. What can be done?
We know about it. We have groups. We have a group of young people in Peru, and we're working on taking care of that with the military.
Said, awaiting payment, do not book. Who thinks we're going to stiff them for the money? We had to sign a promissory note that we would reimburse the government $1,483 for our rescue transport, and I guess the hotel and whatever. Fortunately, those kinds of expenses, we had purchased travel insurance. So all of the extras of 4 extra nights of hotel and meals and taxis and the transport back and forth to Marrakesh so many times, that all got covered by insurance. So I feel sorry for the people who don't have that, because it had to be really crazy expensive.
I'm kind of stranded here. No ships leaving or coming. Due to a few deaths because of the virus, the whole city has been on lockdown. Cannot go out. There's checkpoints everywhere, there's a curfew. Just trying to figure out what we can do next.
I go up to watch the sunset from the viewpoint in Peru, and I get down and there's just queues everywhere at every single ferry, at every single travel agency. I'm like, what's going on? And then they tell us you have 2 days to leave the island. And I had a flight on the Monday and the deadline was Sunday. So everybody is panicked. They call this big town meeting. They say, yes, you have to leave. And there's hundreds of people there with really no answers. Every single flight got sold out that night that was leaving. I went to the airport and was able to get on a flight and come to Cebu to go to Singapore, then Greece. And then Europe closed its borders. So that flight was out of the question. And then Air Asia shut down, so I couldn't get to Singapore anymore. So I just bought a flight to LA through Taiwan. And just 2 days ago, Taiwan closed their airport to through traffic, so not allowed to fly to Taiwan. I've been trying to leave, but it's been a challenge to say the least. The Philippines, around a week ago, implemented a domestic travel ban. No travel from the sea through airports going to different islands here. So you can't really get from island to island without government approval. Just yesterday, they had a sweeper flight. The Department of Tourism here is now trying to help people get off in places like Palawan, like El Nido. There's some people who are not as fortunate as me, and they have to be home. They have kids, they have medicine that's maybe running out, they have a job that they have to go to. Where me, I feel like if someone's gonna stay, it might as well be me. So I don't want to take someone else's spot who needs to go home more than I do. I'm really hesitant to buy a very expensive flight to go home when the cost of living here easily around $500-600 a month comfortably, maybe less now because there's no activities. Walking over to the town, which is usually sprawling with tourists, is a ghost town. Everyone's got their doors shut because everybody who was leaving already left. I'm just hoping I'm not the only one left here after a while, because some governments are sending flights. At least I didn't get false hope from our government. At least right away they're like, okay, we're not doing anything, figure it out.
When I left the U.S., there was no travel warnings for Peru for the most part. Things definitely were getting a little bit more complicated in the U.S., but by no means was I notified that it would be risky to travel here. Got no emails from anybody at the embassy, got no phone calls or anything. We pretty much were told this was the situation and you had to figure it out, and anybody that was not able to get a flight out would be stuck here through the quarantine. Right outside my door here, there are Peruvian military that are on the streets that are checking vehicles and checking anybody who's walking, telling them that they can't be outside, holding rifles, and it's quite intimidating. But they're definitely taking this lockdown very seriously. Immediately when this all happened, obviously, we tried calling our airlines to say, look, can we get back? The airline said, look, we don't know when we're going to be able to return to Peru. We've got no direction from the government. We immediately all started booking flights on various airlines to try to get back. And as soon as we book one, the next day we find out that it's been canceled. Some are pregnant, some are elderly, some one person has Lyme disease, people need access to medication, and we feel like our government's really let us down.
When they first announced that the school was going to Ecuador, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to go. And I was just so happy. And since they both went on the trip, they were also so happy to go. And it was very fun while we were there, and it was beautiful, and I loved it.
All through Sunday, we believed our flights were good. Sunday night, my wife received a cancellation because she was on a different airline from American. So we called Delta and just rebooked her on a Delta flight with Stephen and I. They assured me that their flights were going to go, that they were going to fly down here empty, they were going to pick us up. They took my money for another one-way ticket out of Ecuador back to the United States. So Sunday night, we felt pretty secure that we were going to be able to leave the Galapagos and leave Ecuador. On Monday, around noon, Delta canceled all of their flights. So we knew things were going to get really complicated at that point.
Very little communication, hours on the phone trying to get through. You'd be on the phone 20 minutes and the call would fail. You'd get on the phone again, another 40 minutes, the call would fail. You'd get a different answer from every single agent.
So that's very frustrating because you're looking for the vet that should have the answers and should give you the direction. I never once felt that their physical security was in jeopardy. And that wasn't that it wasn't a serious situation and that a lot of things couldn't go wrong. I just really had a deep feeling of, hey, God's got this. He's going to watch over them and he's going to take care of them, all of them.
At times we were low on cash, at times the credit card wouldn't work, and then the police would stop us to do checkup. There was a lot of things along the way where we would hold our breath, but the door seemed to open every single time we needed it to along the way.
Thankfully, we were able to find a good place to stay, and the Jansmas helped us, and they really just took us in. So I'm very grateful for that.
I think we made a good team.
It was pretty scary because I didn't feel that I would be able to make it to a hospital or to a doctor, or a doctor make it to me as well. And I had contracted, they think, some sort of intestinal bacteria somehow along the way, and it was pretty bad. I'm thankful for my husband and Amy. Amy helped take care of my family while I couldn't.
Up until yesterday, we were still being told, from all our friends and family, we called the senators, we called all the U.S. officials. All you have to do is sign up for the STEP program, and they're on it. Mike had put us on that. Michael had put us on that. We signed up for every form, every document, every spreadsheet. Now, they're not doing it for free, but they're the only ones really caring about the people and bringing them back home.
But they're also doing it at a fair price.
Yes, they are doing it at a fair price compared to some of the charters that the U.S. Embassy has directed us to as a way of help, but I don't know how much help $1,000 per person ticket is.
We were all so devastated to have to suddenly pack up all our things, say goodbye to our community members, the ones that we could say goodbye to. We didn't fully realize how fast the situation with coronavirus was accelerating. The issue was accelerating so exponentially that we couldn't even predict the next 12 hours. So we didn't realize at first how close we were to being stuck in Rwanda, because no one really could predict that Rwanda would close its airport. So many other volunteers in other countries in Africa were facing similar situations, in that the airport exits were becoming fewer and fewer and fewer, and there were just so few airports that had direct flights to the States, and there were hundreds of volunteers that were shuttled onto charter planes at the last minute because no one knew what was going to happen the next day. The first flight, we went from Rwanda to Ethiopia. There was a chartered flight that picked up volunteers from Uganda, Rwanda, and Malawi, and then that charter flight brought those volunteers to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Then from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, we took one chartered flight from Addis to Dulles. There was a bit of a stress initially because everything was so sudden that some volunteers didn't have a place to go to in the States. Either they didn't live with their parents, or their parents couldn't host them, or their parents were concerned about their children having traveled. And Peace Corps was asking that all volunteers self-quarantine themselves. The first night in my house, I woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning and I couldn't remember where I was, and I had to replay all the past 7 or 8 days in my mind just to remember that I had arrived at home. There are still many Americans that I know of in Rwanda who now are forcibly self-quarantined in their homes because there's no transportation options available.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from USA Today to stay up to date with all the latest news.